quick recap, Paul. It's been 1 year since the Lismore floods. What have we learnt since then? Have any policies changed? Has enough changed?
I was talking to Steve Craig, who's the excellent Mayor of Lismore, last night on the show, and we've been talking off here for a long time. He is open to say that it's frustrating that 12 months on, there are still thousands of people that are living in temporary accommodation that really is only meant to be for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, let alone a whole year. There's been a lot of delays with the state government, particularly when it comes to rebuilding of properties, where they happen to go. But what was really interesting is that the CSIRO put out a report last week that one of the things that failed 12 months ago and hasn't really been fixed since is the warning systems further up the river. Now, it will always flood, it will happen again. Sorry, Greens, you won't be able to change the weather forever. But the reality is that when it floods again, you want to have all the alarm bells that go up the river that tell you
that there's a problem.
Rather than wake up in the middle of the night, wow, we were told this wasn't going to be much, and it ends up being something to jump up on your roof. So it's a place that is still proud. People want to stay there. They hate, and I've had people look me in the eye and get very cranky at any suggestion that the houses should be moved and go somewhere else. They want to rebuild, but the process, and the reality also of a natural disaster is we move on to something else. It's quite rare that we even recognise 12 months of something, and that's just how big those floods were.
Yeah, and that's why your program is so great, Paul, because you don't forget those communities.
God love you. Not just the size of an elephant, I've got the memory of one.
Now, I want to look at the Qantas succession plan, Gemma. We are seeing Qantas appointing a new international and freight division boss. This is adding to the rumours that Alan Joyce may be planning to step down at the end of the year. It's his 14th year in the job. Qantas is going through a troubled time at the moment, Gemma.
Well, it's such a fascinating story to watch play out. Qantas is one of the most, if not the most important, certainly Australian branded businesses, in the sense that you think Qantas, you think Australia. Most of us have got a great deal of affection for Qantas. I think what has troubled this business is a classic case of the space that I work in day to day, which is its reputational issues, which stem, of course, from problems around reliability and being on time, which, in fairness to Qantas, are plaguing airlines all around the world. But what has troubled most of us is saying, we all understand that there's a post-COVID recovery, and everybody with a brain wants Qantas and any other Australian business to be profitable, but none of us mere mortals who jump into cattle class to go from Sydney to Melbourne, for example, want to feel like we're having the mickey taken out of us. So the troubles that Qantas have are reputational, and I think it's fascinating to look at this clear sort of pre-positioning, if you like, and understand what might be going on in the background. And 14 years is a really long hit out for anyone in a role of that nature, particularly someone who's had to guide a business like that through a pandemic. But also Qantas took a fair chunk of JobKeeper as well.
That's
so they're not exactly, a paragon. They're not a paragon of virtue here.
Well, what do you think about that, Paul? Qantas did, and you can argue whether they should have or not, but they did receive a lot of government subsidies during the pandemic.
They've it's $2 billion, I think.
Yeah, they've returned record profits this year, but they're not paying company tax.
Yeah, that's the bit that gets me. I think it was fine. I mean, during a pandemic, during essentially the shutdown of demand, and it was government that shut down demand on everything, everywhere, including on an airline. So if a government's willing to do that, then they have to pay some sort of support to keep the businesses in the air. I'm not as all in on Qantas as a lot of other people are, because this obviously is a very successful business. The leadership of it is very successful. Whoever's going to end up as a CEO will end up very successful. But, they have, frankly, the best lobbying machine in the country, which is the Chairman's Lounge, which every senior CEO, every politician and many people in the media, which means they sometimes don't get the coverage that other companies would, but that said, I don't feel that to be the fault of Alan Joyce.
And then the politicians don't understand how
he's got a product they want.
People have to wait.
Yeah, he's got a product they want, and Lydia Thorpe wants as well.
Yeah.